story unfolds with an interesting rumor about a man in this world that even the armed groups are afraid of whenever they see him. His name is Peter, and the most surprising thing about Peter is that he is an older man in his 60s. It would have been better for him if he had died years ago, but unfortunately, Peter has been chased down by thousands of killers, and he has also lost all the assets he acquired throughout his life. And now those after him threaten his loyalty to the organization, even though Peter is a legend among them, where Peter is standing over the heaps of men he killed and only one guy left out of them. He recognizes that the man standing before him is Peter, even though Peter is wearing a funny mask on his face. The injured man is in shock to realize that Peter is still alive even though he is legendary Peter when thousands of killers chase him down. Peter just walks towards the injured man calmly and tells him that the reason, even though thousands of killers are after him, they have never been able to find him is because the Peter they are looking for is no longer who he used to be. Then he takes off his mask and the man is shocked when he sees the face of Peter as he can't believe his eyes and thinks that it is impossible what he is seeing. Peter casually points his gun at the man while smoking a cigarette and shoots him. The scene shifts to 3 months back, when Peter is standing in his bookstore. Meanwhile, he receives a call. The guy advises him to stop ignoring the calls and visit the hospital. The person on the call reminds him that if he continues to do that, then he will die in less than 3 months. But it looks like Peter is not afraid to death as he is gathering his mountain of pills. While settling the books in the racks, he thinks he has been handling death and life situations throughout his life, and how he gave the last 50 years of his life to the organization, and admits that he doesn't regret anything. While sorting books, he comes across a book titled How to Take Portraits. He realizes that he has yet to take any photos of himself. He looks into the mirror while watching his old body carrying a book pile. That might be the only regret he has. A schoolgirl wearing a school uniform and holding her bag walks into his shop. She greets Peter and tells him she wants to buy a middle school textbook. Peter, sorting the books in the other corner of his shop, welcomes her while turning around, as he sells every book he has there except the one he doesn't. A student asks if he sells used textbooks. Peter replied that he had textbooks from the 1960s to 2020, including books from different contraries, and Peter asked which one she liked and suggested she get the latest one. The girl explains that she wants these for her younger sibling. Peter assumes she is probably a student from the nearby high school, and he starts picking out the books for her. Peter notices that her name tag is green, that she is a senior, which the girl confirms. She is impressed by Peter's sharpness and asks how he knows so much. Peter replies that he knows everything about everyone in the neighborhood. Peter brings out a set of brand new books, which shocks her. She explains that these are not the ones she wants to buy. She adds that she has only a 1,001 Korean currency and can't buy all these brand new books. Peter smiles and tells her he no longer needs these so she can have them. The girl tries to refuse, but Peter tears off the book's plastic cover and tells her that these are no longer brand new. She tells him that he doesn't need to do that for her, but he assures her that it is okay. Just by looking into her eyes, Peter reveals to her that he knows how much she adores her younger sibling and tells her that she should be good to them while she has the chance. This surprises the girl. Peter adds that she will regret it if she doesn't. When Peter is packing the books for her, the girl calls him Grandpa while trying to get his attention, so Peter tells her she should call him Mr. The girl then asks Peter if he has ever regretted anything before. Peter tells her that their regrets increase as they live longer. Peter recalls a time when he had to leave his daughter so they both could stay alive. He tells the girl they can't do anything to change the past, and avoid the things she would regret later. Just then, the girl is about to stab Peter in the back, but it looks like Peter already knows that she has been sent here to kill him, and tells her that she should turn back and promises not to kill her if she does. Hearing this, the girl is shocked and wonders how he knows why she is here. Peter reveals that he has memorized the faces of every student at the high school. To confirm, Peter tells her that she tells him that she is a senior, but that the high school was built just 2 years ago. The girl realizes that Peter has caught her. Peter points out that the knife she carried with her smells of blood, a scent that he has been exposed to for many years of his life. He mocks her for attempting to hide the smell with cheap perfume. The girl decides to go ahead and attack him because she has already come so far and she has no other choice. She then takes the knife and tries to stab him, but suddenly starts to feel afraid that she will be the one who dies, but reminds herself that she is the one with the knife. Peter says she can still have the books because he knows what she said about her young sibling is real. Judging by how the girl speaks, Peter confirms that she is also from the same organization as him. By accident, Peter tells her she is from Glory Orphanage like him, and their way of work has not changed yet. Peter claims that she is not trained well yet. Peter then tells her that Plan B occurs if their volunteer service fails in their organization. Suddenly, 2 other men crash into the store through the roof and start shooting them. Peter pushes the girl away and reveals that their organization, if the mission is unsuccessful, then the assassin needs to be neutralized. She notices that Peter got hit by one of the, and it went through his stomach. The other 2 men open fire again, and Peter tries to fight back by shooting at them too. But unfortunately, one of them grabs the girl while the other punches the older man, and wonders how such a weak man could be Peter. Meanwhile, a man with octopus tattoo on his head arrives. His codename is 8-Legged Man, and he is the boss's informant. He talks about how Peter has the most extraordinary reputation in their organization and is the highest-ranked agent, but now he's nothing about the disease. Peter tells them to come straight to the point and tell him the reason they want to kill him. In response, the 8-Legged tells him that the boss doesn't like him. Peter seems confused to hear that, so the informant explains that there's a massive bounty of 7.6 billion won on Peter's head, which thousands of killers would be trying to win the moment he steps out of the organization. Peter finds it funny that the bounty is the same amount in his bank account. The informant confirms that's indeed his money. The bounty is the money he saved up over the years while he was in prison, risking his life, but now that money would be going into someone else's hand, and the 8-Legged wants to be that person. 8-Legged asks Peter to die by his hands and punches him in the face, and the other man joins him. Peter is sent flying into the other room. They assume that Peter has been knocked out. The 8-Legged look disappointed as the fight ended so quickly and asks the other man to clean up the mess. 8-Legged looks closer at Peter, but Peter surprises him with a flashbang and escapes through the door. They realize that they have been tricked, and the 8-Legged orders his men to go after Peter as he couldn't have gone far with a bullet in his stomach. Those 2 men go out on a rainy night to search for Peter. It is raining heavily outside, and Peter is huffing in pain, lying in the park's playing area. Peter thinks that he is not in a position to fight back. He is bleeding badly, huffing in pain, and realizing that he is too old now. Peter thinks back about his life as he lived daily for the organization. At an early age, when other boys of his age were studying in school, Peter was learning how to swing a knife and kill people. From schools, he was learning to wiretap and eavesdrop until his ears bled. When other guys were dating and romancing, he became a Russian spy living with Frostbite 247. When others were planning their families, he was fighting against the terrorist groups to survive. Peter worked for this organization by constantly putting his life on the line. The situation changed when the new boss took over the organization's charges. The new boss feels Peter's too old, but Peter is sick and soft now, so he wants to be a Peter to die. Peter is groaning in pain at the playground and recalls giving everything to the organization and never asking for anything in return, and now they are treating him in that way. Then he angrily questions himself, saying that his life is worthless for them. At least he doesn't deserve to be treated like that. Peter motivates himself that he can't die like that. He will not allow anyone to take his money. He then remembers his daughter, whom he left behind many years ago. He then unconsciously falls to the ground. He is bleeding badly. At the 8-Legged hideout, the other 2 killers are cooking something in the kitchen and talking about how they would have won the bounty if they had not let Peter slip away. The second man wonders why such a massive bounty is on the older man's head. The first man explains that it's probably the least they could do to respect such a legend. The second man is only after the money and doesn't care if Peter is a legend. He wants that money so much that he gives up his kickboxing championship title just to become a bounty hunter to kill the older man. By holding Peter's picture, they will kill him and take that bounty. Suddenly, they are interrupted by a man telling them that this is the only picture that shows his face. When they turn around, they are shocked to see Peter standing in front of them, but they realize that Peter is an older man, but the man standing in front of them is young. They assume that he's someone else wearing the same outfit. Peter himself admits that he doesn't know what happened and claims that when he woke up, he was already like this. And judging a bullet hole and blood on his shirt, Peter realized that he was him is in the wrong place. He assumes he is just a student and tells him he shouldn't be there. Peter tells him that he knows everything. That's why he is here. And then Peter grabs his hand and asks him to take him to the eight-legged man. Hearing this, they assume that this young man is also in their line of work. The second man tells him that he has to die to reduce the competition, and he tries to punch him, but Peter stops his fist with his palm. The man is shocked to see his strength and wonders if it might be the legend. Crushes the bones of his hand with his bare hand. A first man tries to stab Peter from behind, but Peter quickly turns around and lands several hits on him while he is in the air. The second man grabs a knife to fight and asks Peter who sent him here. Peter replies that the men who master cutlery weapons are third class at best. The man gets confused by this, but Peter continues by adding the men who mastered all weapons are second class, but those who can use anything as a weapon are first class. This, Peter grabs a scarf nearby and wraps it around his hands to use it as a weapon. The man charges at Peter with the knife, but suddenly Peter throws his knife away with that scarf, wrap it around the neck of that man, and throw him into the big pot of spaghetti, while holding his neck and defeating the man. While lying on the floor, the man asks Peter who he is. Peter picks up the picture they took of him and remembers the bounty eight-legged told him if he leaves the organization. Peter confirms that that's the only picture they have of him. When he confirms it, Peter burns it while lighting a cigarette and claims that if thousands of men were after him, they would never find him because the old Peter they are looking for is already dead. He has become the younger version of himself when he opens his eyes. Peter has rejuvenated. The eight-legged is going back in their Mercedes car, and the girl is also with him. The eight-legged man says they lost Peter when they are about to catch him. Peter will be wanted everywhere soon, but they must catch him before that. Peter will also be dead soon due to cancer and suggests that he shows some kindness to his subordinates because of his condition. Peter leaves the eight-legged hideout, and later he is staring at himself shirtless in a mirror. Peter can't believe what is happening to him and how he suddenly transformed into his younger age. The bullet that was in his stomach is now gone, and even the pain he was suffering due to cancer is also gone, even though he has no idea how it all happened. But most importantly, the bounty hunters can't recognize him now by his appearance. Peter knows they will always find the traces he leaves behind, but they will never see the older Peter they are searching for. He changes his clothes, as these are not fit for him now. Just then, Peter hears two thugs talking. Since they are in a non-smoking area, the thugs try to intimidate him, but Peter insists they go out. The fat one of them slaps Peter and tells him he will let him go since he is feeling good today, but don't look around them again. Peter walks away as he doesn't want to waste his time. The thugs think he is afraid of them, but Peter will lock the door and claim he will deal with them quickly. Peter walks towards them. The thugs are confident they will take him on and assume that Peter will teach them manners. Peter rolls their sleeves and tells them he will teach them a lesson for not respecting their elders. The fat thug again tries to slap Peter, but Peter lands a nasty punch on his stomach. He flies away and falls to the floor. The other thug pulls out his knife and tries to threaten Peter, asking him if he knows whom he is messing with. Peter replies that he doesn't know him, but Peter confirms that he is holding a pocket knife incorrectly. The thug looks confused. Then Peter explains that he will cut his finger if he swings the knife the way he is holding it. Peter then thinks the person who will swing the knife doesn't have his arm in front of him. Then suddenly the thug tries to swing his knife at Peter, but Peter manages to hit his hand holding the knife and disarm him quickly. After that, Peter swiftly hits him on the neck, making him fall to the ground while he is keeping his neck in pain. While standing in front of Thug, Peter tells him he doesn't try to stab him. If he did, then he should have died earlier. The thug begins to fear Peter and asks him for his identity. Peter doesn't know what kind of bad jobs he does for a living, but if he knows who Peter is, he must die here. Peter then grabs him by his shoulder and tells him that if he wants to know who he is, then he indeed has to die after that. Thug frightens and pees in his pant and says he will surely do legal things from now onwards. Peter then takes all of the thug's clothes and leaves him naked in the restroom. On his way out of the place, Peter checks his bank account and sees all his money has disappeared. He angrily thinks he has warned them not to touch it. He realized that they had started the war. Around himself, Peter hears two students talking about scholarships. One says they got a scholarship from the Glory Club, and the other admires him. Peter remembers the place where he grew up, Glory Orphanage, which was operated by a religious facility on a small scale. And now, after 50 years, they are supporting children who are suffering from terrible food shortages. Glory Club has grown to cover all the political and business world corners. It is a company Peter has been part of for many years. Now, Peter wants to dismantle this by his own hands. The scene shifts and Eight-Legged enters the butcher's shop, where a guy sitting on a chair asks, "Alone to capture him." Eight-Legged replies that he is not Peter, he is alone, which is enough for people like his level. The butcher says they will die soon if they keep on trusting in Peter. Eight-Legged replies, "Does it matter if someone else dies too early?" Eight-Legged wants to finish their introduction and wrap things up quickly, so finishing soon is less painful. The butcher smiles and says they have guests, so they prepare an entire supper for them, and he gathers his guards to surround the Eight-Legged. This is the Wagner mercenary base, the best private military company in the West since 1948. The head of the company thinks that Eight-Legged is not among the top 12 best in the Glory Club, and wonders why he is so confident while standing there alone. Then he orders his men to attack Eight-Legged at once, but Eight-Legged kills them all in one go using his signature skill, entire body hypermobility. After seeing this, the leader falls to the ground united and asks how an average human can do that. He yells for the killer to stay away from him, but Eight-Legged moves towards the leader and kills him. Eight-Legged enters his hideout with the girl earlier. She tells Eight-Legged that his assassin guys are dead, someone very carefully kills them, and he leaves no trace behind. Killer destroys all the security cameras as well. Eight-Legged assumes only one man can do that, and he's none other than Peter. Eight-Legged wonders what kind of tricks this older man has used to stay alive, and even managed to kill his men in his hideout. He thinks Peter's bounty will drop soon, and wants to kill him before anyone else. Eight-Legged orders the girl to go and find Peter's hideout and report him back. The girl stays silent a bit, thinking about the time back at the bookstore where the kind older man saved her life in an assassination attempt. The girl accepts the orders. After that, they walk into the restaurant. The waiter tells Eight-Legged that someone is waiting for him inside, and the waiter asks Peter if he has a particular reservation as it is not a working day. Peter looks up and explains that he has no reservations, but comes here with a grudge. The Eight-Legged man asks if he pressed him for his tab or something in the past, but Peter says he is somehow correct as his tab is way too big. Peter glares at him and tells him the tab is about 7-6 billion. Peter says this to the legged man. He initially smiles and thinks it's just a joke, but he fears when he realizes what he is talking about and orders his man to lock the door. The Eight-Legged assumes that he might be connected to Peter and assures him that he won't be leaving the restaurant alive. The Eight-Legged looks curious to know who the young man is and how he knows about Peter's information. The Eight-Legged confirms that he is not from his Glory Club and doesn't even have information about this man. As the waiter loads his gun, the Eight-Legged wonders if the young man is Peter's secret child or his disciple. Eight-Legged corrects himself by remembering that Peter has always worked alone, then offers Peter the chance to get out alive and gives Peter two options. One is to tell him the exact location of Peter and walk out alive, and the second is to fight and die with a bullet to his head. Peter replies Eight-Legged that he offers good choices, but Peter doesn't need anyone from it. Peter gives him option 3, which is that his name is Peter. Peter tells Eight-Legged that his name is Peter and he is the one who kills his subordinates. Legged doesn't take it seriously as he is unsure what the young man is discussing. Peter replies that a young guy like him has terrible hearing, and Peter repeats that he killed his 2 subordinates. The Eight-Legged man is still not sure what's going on, and he doesn't believe Peter is the man sitting in front of him. He would attack them. He calls out Peter, who he still thinks is an average student, and threatens him while the high school girl and the waiter pull out their weapons. The Eight-Legged asks again to reveal his relationship with Peter. Peter watches them as the girl pulls out her knife, ready to fight. Peter tells the Eight-Legged man that there's one way he can find out about the relationship, and when the Eight-Legged man asks what it is, Peter tells him that he would have to kill him. Eight-legged smiles and says he is best at killing people. He then gives his waiter the signal to shoot Peter and tells him to make sure that he can breathe after that. When the waiter pulls the trigger, Peter throws his chopstick so accurately that it hits the waiter's throat, and he falls to the ground and starts bleeding. A girl cannot believe what she has just seen and stares at the waiter. Peter picked up a new pair of chopsticks and continued eating his meal. The eight-legged man is impressed and compliments his flashy skill as he walks over to the waiter's body. Skills and asks him what club he is from, offering him the chance to join the Glory Club. The eight-legged pretends to be friendly, but when he gets close enough to Peter, he pulls out his gun and starts shooting numerous bullets at Peter. Peter swiftly hides behind the table and throws a chili sauce bottle on the ground to save him from bullets. The eight-legged man laughs as the bullets go through the table when he sees the red liquid flowing from underneath it. The eight-legged man calls Peter a kid, thinking he can stop the bullets from falling from the table. Eight-legged smiles. He believes he has injured the young man and offers him one last chance to reveal his relationship with Peter. He then rushes behind the table to kill that young guy, but he is in shock after seeing that he is not there and realizes that it is chili sauce, not blood. Eight-legged rushes here and there in search of Peter. He checks behind the pillar, but no one is there. When he looks up, Peter spits chili sauce on his face, jumps on eight-legged, tricks his hand, and punches him on his gun-holding hand, which destroys the gun. After disarming him, Peter lands a nasty blow to his face. The eight-legged faints and can't see anything correctly, and he is bleeding from the mouth. Peter twists his head backward like he is breaking his neck, and the eight-legged person falls on the ground with his head facing backward. Peter looks at him and starts walking in the other direction. Eight-legged thinks he has faced countless opponents, but he has never seen a skilled fighter like this young guy. Eight-legged starts reminding his training sessions when he was a young guy, and his mentor was teaching them all that one day all will have a strong opponent, and they need to attack that opponent when he is distracted by something. Eight-legged reminds himself that he has created a unique technique to tackle such opponents, and only he can use that technique. That technique is that he could pin his opponent to the ground like a mixed martial arts fighter and twist them up until they were begging for their lives. His trainer pushed him further, claiming he should make his grip so tight that it could kill the opponent. With time, this was precisely what he did. His trainer still has one more lesson for him. He should never turn his back on his opponent, even if he thinks the fight is over. After mastering the art, the eight-legged completed his unique technique and was sure he would never lose a battle against anyone. Before Peter walks out of the place, he grabs Peter by his leg, applies his unique technique, rounds himself on Peter's body, and starts breaking his bones. The young guy screams, the eight-legged grip tightens, and he tells Peter that he was doing this when he wasn't even born, and that he has far more experience than a newbie like him. Peter stands beside him and asks how much time he requires to complete his unique technique. Eight-legged is in shock. He thinks he is applying this on Peter, but he grabs his waiter, applies his exceptional technique, and kills him. He realizes he has fainted and can't learn to whom he holds. The eight-legged looks at the young guy in horror as he has been in this line of work for decades, and that's why he is sure that he is going to die at the hands of this skilled young man. The eight-legged thinks that he might be better than the 12 apostles, so he offers Peter a talk and begs Peter to wait and take him out. By saying this, he gets up and immediately grabs his subordinate girl. He then gives Peter an offer to spare his life in return for that girl. He can take her and do anything he wants with her. The girl refuses to go with Peter, but eight-legged shuts her up. Peter accepts the deal and admires how quickly all the Glory Club members make deals to save their lives. The eight-legged man throws the girl to Peter and runs to the exit door. He tells Peter he will pretend that nothing has happened between them and says he can use that girl now. Peter reminds eight-legged about particular techniques. Stops in shock at how he knows his unique technique. When he turns around, Peter repeats a familiar phrase that his trainer always said to him back then. He told him that if he shows his back to his opponent when he think he have won, he will surely lose his head. Eight-legged recalls what his mentor said during training. He sees the resemblance between Peter and his trainer. He realizes Peter is the young man standing before him. Peter then reminds him of what he said earlier about how none of his opponents have lived to tell the tale after hearing his name. Peter rushes towards him and twists the flexible eight-legged man to the point that his bones snap and kill him on the spot. The scene shifts, the head of the Glory Club exercising on the roof of his office. Wearing only shorts, he has a woman's tattoo on his back. His subordinates reported that the eight-legged is dead now, and it is confirmed. Data from CCTV is removed, and there are no clues about the killer. The boss replies to an older man who has been shot with a bullet and is on the verge of death, how he killed 4 trained men without leaving any trace. The boss tells his subordinate that the bounty of 7.6 billion is up for the mission of SSS level, and orders his subordinate to tell all the members of the Glory Club that from now they are all allowed to kill Peter wherever they see him. The scene shifts to the busy streets of the town. A boy in a public place points his father towards the Glory Club's advertisement, stating that they started their service. Everyone else also turns up to look up the latest advertisement, and among them, Peter is also looking at the big screen. It's a coded message from Glory Club. A picture of the old Peter's on display, along with the message for seeking help for the elderly and homeless. Under the ad is the phone number for the people to call if they like to donate. They are also distributing flyers on the street. One of them approaches Peter and hands him a flyer, asking him to donate 20 a month, as it is a non-profit organization. Peter looks at the flyer, squeezing it up and claiming he'll take down the Glory Club himself. Peter decides to bring down the organization, and only one person comes to his mind to help him with his mission. Unfortunately, the person is weird, but Peter doesn't have many options. Peter decides to bring down the organization, and only one person comes to his mind to help him with his mission. Unfortunately, the person is weird, but Peter doesn't have many options. Later that night, Peter enters a demolished bathroom. He sees many people sleeping on the floor. Even the security guard sleeps with them. Peter walks through the unclean people and wonders how their numbers keep rising each time he visits. After that, he gets to the other side of the washroom and goes to the wall to check out the posters pasted on the wall. He traces his hand across the wall as if he is trying to locate something. He then recalls that it was between the posters of organ trafficking and steaming night. Finally, he finds the spot he's been looking for and pushes the secret button to unveil a hidden passage. He passes through the secret door, down the dark stairs, and reaches a beautifully furnished apartment. Peter says it's not his first time in this place, but it is fantastic, as always. He looks around the apartment and admires the owner for his choice of keeping expensive bottles of wine lined up on the shelves. Then suddenly a sharp thing touches his neck. When he looks over, he finds a lady holding the stick. Peter notices she is blind and assumes all these expensive things in the apartment are useless to her as she can't even see them. Peter notices that his loyal dog doesn't like him much and starts barking at him in hostility. Hearing Peter's voice puts a slight smile on a blind woman's face, and she concludes that she'd soon have to get rid of a corpse for the first time in a while. Blind women use their enhanced sense of smell to sniff out Peter practically. She realizes that Peter is young, and he is not a beggar. She even concludes that he exudes killing intent rather than a desire to rob her. She is not an average, weak, blind woman, and she proves it when she swings her stick at Peter. She suspects that Glory Club sends Peter. Peter thinks she is more accurate than most people, but Peter is too quick and needs to catch up. She continues to swing her stick, but Peter manages to dodge each attack with excellent skills. She tells Peter to be careful not to damage her expensive wallpaper with his incredible speed. With great speed, the blind woman throws her stick at Peter like a javelin athlete, but again, Peter dodges it sharply. The stick sticks to the wall beside Peter. Peter wonders if the lady is blind. She then tries to hit Peter with a leg kick and taunts Peter, saying that she's such a good fighter even though she is blind. But unfortunately for her, Peter is sharp enough, so he catches her midair and grabs her arm and leg before throwing her. Peter's speed and skills send blind women into amazement. However, it looks like she also has some tricks under her belt as she pulls out a knife and holds it against Peter's face while he drops her to the couch. She admits and surprised to see someone of his caliber is still be a member of the Glory Club. She taunts Peter that she didn't sense any killing intent in Peter's move and reminds Peter how bad it will be if he murders disabled women. She tells Peter that she doesn't have any choice as her work only ends when he kills a person. Then she orders her dog to attack Peter, Alexander Macking. Without wasting time, Alexander hurls himself at Peter, ready to bite him with his sharp teeth. But something unexpected happens when Peter suddenly calms down the vicious dog, and Alexander lies on his back and enjoys a nice belly rub while the blind lady is lying with great amazement. A few moments later, a blind lady opens a bottle of Jack and Else. Peter then explains that he is no longer an older man, but is back to the specially trained killer stud he used to be. The blind lady couldn't believe his age conversion and felt Peter's face with her hands to confirm that he was not lying to her. She affirms that Peter's skin is even softer and that the smell of his old man is also not there. She looks surprised. After feeling face for 30 minutes, she still doesn't understand what Peter tells her. Suddenly, he funnily falls on the couch and asks Peter that's how he died. Peter asks what she is doing. She asks Peter how he died so she can repeat the posture. She stands back and asks if the posture is not essential, and if the method by which he was attacked may be necessary. She continues to interrogate Peter, asking if he was killed with a gun, knife, or any poison. With a desperate look on her face, she asks Peter to explain so she can rejuvenate like him. Suddenly, a boil appears on her forehead, implying that Peter smacks her so they can change the topic. She asks Peter if he has to go to the Glory Club alone. Peter replies yes. She asks Peter how he's planning to do that. Peter replies he is going inside using the Eye of the Storm. She questions what Eye of the Storm. Peter explains to her that Glory is chasing him, and he wants to finish Glory by going inside again. He plans to become a killer for the Glory Club again, and that's the best way to take down the organization from the inside. By hearing this, the blind lady rejects the idea. But she soon realizes that it's a good idea. She points out how he has become younger, and that no one will recognize him, and he can easily infiltrate the organization undercover. Whatever their plans to kill Peter, Peter will be well aware of that. She is impressed by Peter's move. She pulls Peter by his tie and starts flirting with him. She tells Peter that he has become scary. Peter looks uncomfortable and tells her to let him go because she is more terrifying than him, and she lets go of his tie. She tells Peter that to become a member of the Glory Club, he has to graduate from Glory Orphanage, which looks impossible. As old Peter has already graduated from Glory Orphanage, but in his current appearance, he is nothing but an outsider. It seems like there is no way to become a killer of the Glory Club. Peter tells her that she is wrong and that there is a way. He will be a student of Glory Club's high school, and at this point, he is still determining what kind of organization this club is supposed to be. How do they have an orphanage, a school, and a killer at the same time? Peter gets admitted to the school and enters when all the girls start flirting with him over his beautiful face and perfect body. Peter's new name is Kim Song-gu. It's time to head towards the auditorium, and even one of the teachers tries to make advances on him, but he has no interest in whatever is happening around him. He thinks that the institute looks like a regular school from the outside, but in reality, its primary purpose is fostering killers. There's even a killer-intensive class that operates secretly where students get training on how to kill a person. Peter, entering as Kim, realizes that it is the only way to become one of the Glory Club killers. He thinks about his plan while admirers from men and women surround him. Peter arrives at the auditorium for the girls' original ballet grand prize. He walks into the hall while his blind friend communicates with him, reminding him that only orphanage graduates are eligible for the killer class. She asks Peter if he has a way to get in. Peter reveals that he has only one way, an exception, and that it rarely happens. He has to get the management's intentions. To do so, Peter walks up to the stage and takes the mic. Ms. Murdoch, blind lady, and her dog-macking return home. They are in shock at what he is going to do. Peter introduces himself as Kim Song-gu, the new transfer student. Students are in shock and ask what Peter is doing. Peter ignores everyone's questions, continues his introduction, tells them about his love for fighting, and tells everyone that he is a killer. Everyone is horrified, including a blind lady and her dog back home. There is a group of faceless people with glowing red eyes listening to what Peter is saying, and they are all armed with deadly weapons. Peter confirms that he forgot to tell them one last and important thing. He then gets closer to the mic and tells everyone that he is going to be a killer who is good at studying. And with a smile on his face, he closes his speech by telling everyone to take care of him while he is at their school. One of the students watching Peter's speech on the phone finds it funny, and he thinks he can become an academic killer. On the other hand, another student suggests that Peter's confidence is tremendous. Just then, a fat guy pushes the girl with the phone out of the way, and with that fat guy, Peter finds himself surrounded by some other students. Peter assumes that his plan has worked. The fat guy with a scar on his lips is the first to confront Peter. The fat guy asks Peter, calling him a killer if he seduces Yejin. Peter looks confused and has no idea what that fat guy is talking about. The fat guy starts weeping and curses Peter, Jang Yeseo, for a long time. He's been in love with only one girl, Yejin, and they have been dating for 20 days. They have been in a very blissful and romantic relationship. That's enough time to fall in love. Jang loves Yejin a lot, and they have been crowned as the best lovers of Divine Honor High School. Unfortunately, Peter steals Jang's love from him, so Jang is here to take revenge. Jang charges Peter and tries to punch him, but Peter is too fast for him. He swiftly dodges Jang's punch and prepares a mighty right-hand punch on Jang's face. Yang Yesul is popular here because he conquered the Mapo district alone with his fists. He is a tough guy. However, for the first time in Jang's life, he senses death when he sees Peter's punch racing towards his face. When the punch is about to hit Jang's face, he closes his eyes and apologizes to Yin for being unable to protect her. Peter stops his fist and decides not to hit a powerful punch on his face but flick Jang on his forehead. Jang falls to the ground, shivering with his swollen forehead, while Peter stands before Jang. The teacher calls out to Peter and runs towards him with a red card in hand. He asks Peter how dare he is fighting here. The teacher grabs Peter by his cheek in anger and asks Peter what his father does for a living. Peter replies that his father is dead, which makes the teacher feel sorry, and he apologizes to Peter. The teacher doesn't let go of that cheek, pulls Peter away, and tells Peter to follow him as he keeps asking him how he dares to fight in their school. Jang gets back on his feet and yells at Peter to let him go. It seems like he is still unconscious. Another student tells him that Peter is not holding him anymore. Hidden-faced killer students appeared again, and they were deciding what they should do about Peter. One suggests waiting a little more and finding out more about him, while the other agrees as they find it fun. Another student suggests killing Peter. Meanwhile, in the auditorium, the teacher is still dragging Peter by his cheek and tells Peter to follow him. Peter replies that he is already following him. Some other students who have just watched this all gossip that the new transfer student is crazy, while others think he is in his MO phase, which they believe is excellent. Then a girl who tried to kill Peter in his bookshop. She sees him while dragged by the teacher, and she is horrified because she thinks Peter has been transferred into the school to destroy it from the inside. That girl's name is Yoonbyul, and Peter goes to her and asks to sit beside her. Yoonbyul asks Peter what he is doing here. Peter replies that people are still following him, so he flees. Then Peter asks her why she is sitting here. Yoonbyul replies that she is sitting there because she doesn't have an appetite. Peter rejects her reason as he notices the mountain of food on her tray. The girl turns away from Peter, calling him noisy. Yoonbyul starts thinking back to the night at the eight-legged hideout when the eight-legged offered her to Peter in return for his life. She remembers how Peter asked her to tell the organization that the old Peter killed the people there. Peter's told her she had to do it if she wanted to live. The girl reminds Peter that she did as he tells her and keeps her promise. Then she asks Peter why he is here and finds her. Peter explains that he is not particularly here to see her. A girl with a mouth full of strawberries asks Peter that he is now here to kill her. Peter refuses and tells them that he is not here to kill her. She explained that the organization monitors her every move because of Peter, and he might know how difficult it is for her. Peter tells Yoonbyul that she should put up with whatever she's going through. He reminds her that the only reason she's alive and eating today is because he saved her life. She tells Peter that he wasn't the one who saved her life, but she survived on her own. Peter lets go of the topic and accepts her claim. She then asks Peter about the organization. As she doesn't know about the organization, she has no idea how scary the place is, and she claims that he doesn't even know who she is. She asks Peter how an outsider like him can harm an organization from the inside. Peter asks her for help in doing this. She gets up, starts walking away, and asks why she will help him. To convince her, Peter tells her they are in the same boat as they both know nothing and that he is counting on her. Peter calls her Yoon Bayul, then changes his mind and addresses her as Lee Yuna. The girl stops in amazement at how he knows her real name. When she turns around to Peter, she sees that Peter is gone. The scene shifts, and the Divine Honor High School students preparing for the athletic competition. A student named Jonathan running a sprint race, a man who is known as Usain Bolt at Divine Honor High School, and he holds the 400-meter sprint high school record. But today is his retirement day as a new student, and it will smash his record. Jonathan runs with all his power, but Peter effortlessly goes past him. After the race, Peter receives cheers from fangirls around. Jonathan is seen sitting after losing the race, and Jang is sitting next to him. Meanwhile, one of the killer students with red glowing eyes is watching everything from the bushes. Later, Peter is going through the eye tests, where other students find it challenging to read tiny numbers on the wall, but Peter casually reads all with one eye. Other students are amazed. Someone keeps observing this from the shadows once again. In class today, students will learn how to cut fruits extravagantly. The teacher and other students assume that Peter probably doesn't know how to cut fruits and that he hasn't held a knife before, so they tell him to be careful. Peter tells them he will do his best, and the teacher offers to help if he finds it difficult. Peter sculpts a rabbit from a fruit, which is so cool that some people think the rabbit is alive. Someone is watching this all from behind. Somewhere else, a group of students threatening the teacher who pulled Peter earlier by his cheek. The teacher asks students what their parents do for a living, and instead of answering, he starts mocking their parents. One student punches the teacher to the floor when he tries to use his authority. Those bad students even threaten the teacher to suspend his teaching license for child abuse. They even threaten to sue him and get his license suspended if he dares. They try to punish them with penalty points and ask them to keep on sitting there. Bad students decide to upload what they have just recorded to TikTok. They see Peter coming towards them and asking if they beat the teacher. Students tease him. Meanwhile, the rascals' leader tells him to leave and spits on Peter's shirt. Peter stares at them, and they again warn Peter to go if he doesn't want to die. He then tries to hit a punch on Peter, but Peter is too fast to dodge his move. Rascal tries over and over but keeps missing. Peter then sweeps the guy off the floor. The other tries to hit Peter with a brick from behind, but Peter punches it to tear it apart. After seeing this, all the rascals apologize to the teacher before leaving, calling Peter the villain as justice always wins. Peter says that's why he wins today. Peter asks the teacher, "That okay?" But the teacher starts lecturing him not to fight in front of the teacher. Peter notices that the rascals left their phone on the ground. When Peter tries to pick it up, the teacher gets up and tries to hit Peter with a kick. Peter blocks it. The teacher's suspicion confirms that Peter is not a regular guy. Peter asks the teacher what he is saying, and in reply, the teacher gives evidence to Peter by showing his cup of tea as he didn't even spill a drop out while fighting. The teacher asks Peter where he learned to fight like that and why he learned it. Peter replies that he wants his revenge from glorious killers like them who spoiled his life, his house, and his family and took all his money. The teacher asks Peter if he would like to join their volunteering club. Peter admits that he is waiting for the teacher to come and approach him about it. And the one red-eyed guy who watches Peter's every move from the dark is that teacher. Peter agrees to join the volunteering club. The teacher takes him to a secret class where the various Glory Club killers are fostered. When Peter opened the door, he saw a very normal-looking classroom. The students inside look so average. The teacher says this is the place where they raise killers. The teacher then takes the podium and introduces Peter to the rest of the class, telling them he's a new volunteer working with them in the future. Then Lee Yuna sees Peter, and she looks horrified and wonders why he is here. She tells Peter not to say anything. Peter gives her a wink. She thinks that did he say anything to her or he told her that he is now going to kill her. Peter looks back at the rest of the class and introduces himself, thanking them for their warm welcome. He says this with a smile on his face, but in his mind he thinks about what an ordinary place it is to raise killers. Two students start bullying Peter. It seems they don't like him very much and make it clear that they don't care what his name is. Peter looks at these guys and thinks they fit in anyway, unlike the rest of the class. One guy among the two with cut ears, named Dak Gohaing, tells Peter that only people from Honor Orphanage are allowed here. How does he make it? The other guy's name is Doc Gohii. He is a 58th generation graduate of the orphanage, and his particular traits are strength and grappling. Peter stares at them and discloses that he is also from the orphanage and is even a first-generation graduate. Then the teacher interrupts and suggests giving him a simple welcome party. Hearing this, other students indicated that they should punch Peter initially. Their accurate picture of killers appears when they talk about blood punches and they all take out their weapons. Dachgo Hying and Dachgo Yi also wish to welcome him in a bloody welcome ceremony. Lee Yuna interrupts them and tries to stop them, knowing how dangerous Peter is. He might kill them, but they push her aside and warn her to stay out of it if she doesn't want to get beat up along with Peter. The girl gives up on trying to stop them. The brothers talk to Peter by telling him about a new kid and asking him if he can fight and if he likes neighborhood hooligans. Peter replies that he can fight a bit. He has fought over 500 fights. After hearing this, the brothers tell Peter this might be his last fight. They attack Peter simultaneously. Hae-young with a knife and Yi with his fist. Peter easily blocks their attack, but they keep pushing Peter back. During the fight, Hae-young tells Peter that the volunteer club has no place in the neighborhood, and they add that Peter doesn't know how they are risking their lives to become the best killer in the world. Like legendary Peter. Peter looks annoyed hearing them and asks them to come together. They attack together and call him a nepotism baby, but Peter dodges them again smartly. In next scene, the brothers sweating. Hying says he didn't even use his half strength, and the teacher explains that they should have gone easier in Peter. Other students cheer the brothers and claim Peter left because he was terrified. Peter walking away from the volunteer club in the dark hallway. Lee Yuna asks Peter if he underestimates the volunteer club. Peter is trying to figure out what she is talking about. Lee replies that Peter can't fool her anymore. She explains that she watched his fight with the brothers earlier and asks why he didn't put any strength into his fist. Peter pretends he tried his best, but she refuses and says she has proof. Lee Yuna points out that, unlike those brothers, Peter does not sweat. Peter stares at her and doesn't say a word. Lee Yuna pins Peter to the wall and asks him why he didn't put any effort into the fight, pointing out how suspicious his presence in the school is and what he is hiding. Give her an answer. Peter looks at her with no expression, slips under her arms, and escapes by saying it is lunchtime, but the girl corrects him by telling him it's dinner time and stares at him with frustration. After that, a bus driver, feeling excited that he got paid 1,000,000 won for renting the bus and thinks he is lucky. The man in glasses calls him. The driver expects a lot of passengers, but the man says he will be the only one. The man in glasses carries a lot of suitcases with him as well. The driver offers to load them up and not feel lucky anymore. The driver thinks about how many suitcases he has to carry up. Then a man in glasses asks him if he likes to bet on something, and he tells the driver to guess what's inside the suitcases. Then they both start their journey. The driver says he didn't accept his bet, which looks dangerous. The driver thinks he knows what he sees. He sees one suitcase moving. The next day at school, the Glory Killer's teacher tells students about the new quest. He informs them about client Choi Yun Chang, who is Dewa Group's chairman. They all have heard about him, as he is one of the biggest sponsors of Glory Club. The teacher tells students that the team winning this quest will receive a volunteer certificate and the chairperson's recommendations. In easy words, the winner will officially become a Glory Killer. Peter thinks that it's time he was waiting for. The instructor tells them about the quest, which involves recapturing. There have been some recent kidnappings of teenagers, but one of them is the chairman's only son, and they have to recapture him. One of the students points out that they can report to the police. The teacher explains that the chairman wants revenge. All they need to do is to recapture the chairman's son. The teacher asks them who is interested in doing this task. Most students are not interested in doing this. The teacher looks strange and tells them they will spend 2 more years becoming official killers. They think they do not feel good about this task, and sometimes they must give such tasks to others. Those 2 brothers show interest in the fact that there will be no one other than them to do it and raise their hands. The brothers notice that they do not want this mission. It looks like a new kid and loser coming too. Peter tells Lee to stop copying him, but she claims her hands are up before Peter. Peter threatens Lee that he will cut her hands if she lies, but the girl stops him from saying nonsense. The brothers are excited about the mission and ask the teacher if they can go and beat them up. The teacher tells them that they need to follow certain conditions first. Peter gets excited, knowing he's finally got his chance to become an official killer in the organization. The scene shifts and Peter looks disappointed because they are recovering kidnappees in an amusement park, so they must play as much as they want. They see dancers wearing all sorts of colorful clothes. The brothers watch the dancers in awe and ask why they wear bikinis at the amusement park. They wonder if it is any fun for them. One of the dancers greets them, but the brothers are too puzzled. Some of the girls around try to flirt with Peter. Lee Yuna is thinking about the mission, and the teacher tells them that this is where they are supposed to be. Chairman Choi Yun-cheng's son was kidnapped. Girls flirting with Peter ask him if he's on TikTok. Peter has no idea what they are discussing. Lee Yuna thinks about the teacher when he briefed them about their mission and showed them the location where the chairman's son was kidnapped. The teacher shows them the boy's picture and other details, including his passport front page, which shows his name as Bidulo, and reminds them that their job is to secure the hostage and take down the kidnapper. Lee Yuna calls the place where the boy was last seen a place called Palin World, but where he will be now, only God knows. She is reading the amusement park map and is unsure whether he is alive. They need clues about the vast park too. Lee looks up at Peter and wonders if he can find the solution to their current problem. It looks like he knows everything. Peter tells them to go and let's see any clues. They head towards one of the rides at the park. But the person in charge explains to the brothers and apologizes that they can't take a ride unless they have a reservation. If they get his point, please go and get a reservation. But the brothers don't get his point and think about what kind of booking they need to get for a ride. In charge asks them if they have any complaints, then they can direct message them. Someone from the crowd suggests it looks like it's their first time at an amusement park and laughs. Peter turns around and the person explains that they need to install the app and get started. Lee Yuna quickly installs the app, and they see Atlantis and the haunted house are already fully booked. Jay looks at Lee and asks her if she is coming here to get a ride, suggesting that she is not even thinking about the mission. A few moments later, both the brothers are spotted having fun on one of the toy horse rides. They are even hitting the toy horses. Then the brothers start riding the bumper cars and enjoying it a lot. Kids around are watching them with great amazement. Lee Yuna is fed up with their behavior and tells them they are very loud. Lee Yuna and Peter walk towards the shop where they must shoot something to win a prize. The store owner claims that this game is easy, and he runs this business with no profit or loss. Lee Yuna asks what kind of gift she will get if she wins, wondering if it will be something she can eat. Peter asks Lee to try first. It seems the shop owner has rigged the game, and tells them he is giving the prizes for free when he finds them cut. The owner thinks they are pushovers and won't be able to hit a single target as he weights down the dolls and laughs. She prayed that they would spend thousands of won and try as much as possible to win a prize. Lee Yuna picks up a toy gun and thinks she has never used a fake one before. Thanks to this game, she will use it today and laugh. When Peter and Lee Yuna were done playing the game, they won all the prizes and walked out of the shop victoriously. The man couldn't believe it and sat on the ground, watching them in confusion. The next moment, Peter is standing alone, the brothers suggesting to each other to go for another ride and tell Lee Yuna to stop eating. They then call Peter out and ask him to join them. Peter notices that they are very excited. In his mind, he thinks it might be their first time in an amusement park, assuming just like Peter, they also had a rough childhood, and he asks them to enjoy it as much as possible. After all, none of them even knows when they will be able to laugh like that again in their lives. In the next scene, Lee Yuna sitting on the bench behind a tree. She thinks they are not here to play, but on a mission, and while thinking this, she is eating. Suddenly, a notification on her mobile screen shows that her phone is connected to someone's AirPods, which Choi Yoon-jul owns. She remembers that it is the name of the chairman's son. She wonders where she is getting the signal for his AirPods. She thinks that boy must be somewhere around. So she immediately gets up and looks around for where the AirPods might be. She realizes that signals are coming from the women's restroom. She thinks that some women might pick up a boy's AirPod, or it might be someone with the same name. Lee Yuna asks herself if he should ask others for help or if she should go there alone. She finally decides to go into the restroom initially. She walks in and finds a girl checking her makeup. She realizes that the signals are coming from the woman. Lee Yuna walks up to the woman and tries to ask her, smiling, where she got these AirPods. But the woman screams in terror and jumps away from Lee Yuna. Suddenly, her boyfriend comes out and asks her the reason for her terror. She tells her boyfriend that Lee Yuna comes from nowhere and tries to harm her. Lee Yuna tries to explain that wasn't her intention. She adds that Lee Yuna wanted to steal her stuff. Her boyfriend asks Lee if she does not look like the wrong person, but is a pickpocket. Lee Yuna tries to explain herself by claiming that there is a misunderstanding. But her boyfriend doesn't listen to her, slaps Lee Yuna, and asks how she dare try to mess with her girl. Her girlfriend tries to stop her boyfriend and asks that she only wants her apology, and a man promises that she will surely get it but first gives her a little beating. Meanwhile, on the outside, the brothers wonder where Lee Yuna has gone. One thinks she might be eating something again. They then ask Peter if he knows where she is. Peter replies that he doesn't and tells them they don't need to worry about it as something wrong will not happen to her. Lee Yuna manages to defeat that boyfriend with the help of a lollipop. After that, she approaches that girl and asks where she gets those AirPods. After a while, she meets up with their companions, shows them what she has just found, and tells them that AirPods belong to the chairman's son. She finds it where the chairman's son was lost. Peter thinks they think also about the same place, and the girl asks what he is talking about. Peter asks them to think, as there are always a lot of people around the amusement park. Pointing out that the only place a person can suddenly disappear makes the behavior of the kidnappers seem normal. It has to be a place where it's not strange to scream or jump at someone. With that, Peter then shows her the reservation for the haunted house and points out that it is fully booked for today, and they don't see anyone entering the house. Peter suggests that the boy must be kept in a haunted house. They get in for further investigation. The brothers lead from the front and ask Lee and Peter to follow them. While walking through the corridor, Lee Yuna asks Hae-young to leave her shirt as he is holding her shirt in scariness. He replies that he is watching her back. Peter looks focused and leads the way. Everyone realizes that Peter is correct, as no one else is there. Peter then tells everybody to get ready. The brothers ask nervously what he is talking about. Peter tells them that their mission is about to start. Then smoke appears before them. Peter tells them they are already halfway there. He reminds himself that their mission is to recover the chairman's son and capture the kidnapper. The smoke puts Peter and the others asleep, and they fall on the floor. A man in a white suit appears and starts walking toward them. The teacher is running towards the room and tells someone to stop what he is doing. He then asks about the kids, and the guy answers that they are on their mission already. The teacher orders the guy to call the kids right now. The guy asks the teacher if everything is all right. The guy then calls them on his phone, but they do not pick up his calls. The teacher then realizes the mission is more complex than he thought. Then he suddenly mentions the name Park Sang-do. Hearing his name, the other guy looks nervous too. The teacher confirms that it's the same Park Sang-do. He knows who was chosen as a disciple candidate, but he got kicked out because Glory couldn't control him. The other guy points out that the kids are smart and can care for themselves. They have learned the basics so nothing wrong will happen to them. But the teacher says no, that Park Sang-do is very dangerous. Park Sang-do is the same guy who was transferring briefcases. Park Sang-do ties up the unconscious students and tells them that he used chloroform to put them to sleep. When he uses this chemical on ordinary people, they usually sleep with open mouths, but Lee Yuna's mouth is closed. The assistant asks the teacher if they must stop Park Sang-do immediately. The teacher says that Park Sang-do is cruel and reveals his artificial leg. The teacher suggests they must save the students because he knows the park will cut off their legs. Lee Yuna wakes up and realizes that Park Sang-do has figured out his reality. So he keeps sleeping. Suddenly, Lee Yuna's phone starts ringing. Park Sang-do takes it out of her pocket and answers it. That was her teacher's call. The teacher already knew that Park would answer the call, so he tried to threaten Park not to hurt the students, otherwise the teacher would put his life on the line to kill Park. Park ignores his threats and looks excited to hear the teacher's voice after a long time. He asks the teacher why he is threatening him. Park asks the teacher if he might be worried that he might turn his kids into disabled people like him. The teacher looks in great anger after hearing this. Park then asks the teacher to make a bet and asks the teacher how many pairs of legs will still be intact when he is here. Park tells him that if he guesses correctly, he will spare the chairman's son, but if he answers wrong, the consequences will be severe. The assistant looks at the teacher in terror. He has never seen them look so afraid of anything. The teacher wants to know where Park is hiding, but Park advises him to hurry up and join them because he'll soon get started. Meanwhile, it looks like Lee Yuna has been pretending to be asleep for a while. She then tries to wake Peter and thinks he is sleeping. She believes there is a limit to how carefree a guy can be and how he can sleep right now. Lee starts thinking about what she can do, unties her shoe, and tries to wake Peter by her foot. She then stretches her foot to Peter's face and tries to wake him up. She sees Peter is also sleeping, because he asks what she is doing when she touches Peter's face. Lee Yuna gets embarrassed and explains that she was trying to wake him with the smell. Peter replies that he was about to punch her to wake her up. The girl suddenly starts hitting her hands on her thighs and tries to cut the rope. She tells Peter that she learned this in training and tells him to do the same. Peter asks her what she is doing by showing her his untied hands. Peter replies that it's been a while. Peter assures Lee that he would have stopped Park if he tried to hurt her before. Lee Yuna explains to Peter that this is not a simple kidnapping case, which is the person Park used to be with Glory once, and Peter replies that he already knows that. Peter unties Lee and asks her if she likes gambling on their out of there. Lee asks what he is talking about. In the next scene, the brothers are also awake and unrestrained. He claims Park is an average office worker, but quiet and gritty. Then they advise Park to end his scheme here, as they are in the middle of the mission to save the chairman's son. So tell them that where he is to save his life. Park then starts to reply to those idiots with a crazy smile and points out that they have very foul mouths as they are still young students. Park offers them a bet. The brothers ask him to give them a bet for sure. The teacher drives swiftly and thinks that if students accept the bet, things will be bad for them. Park then tells the brothers that if they lose, they will give one of their legs to Park. By saying this, he pulls out his big blades from the back of his suit. Hyun cheers the challenge when he sees the knives. He is excited that Park is not just an ordinary office worker, but also has a sexy side too. Jae asks if it will be enough. Hae-young replied that he would ensure Park would be in a wheelchair from tomorrow onward. The brothers rip off their shirts and prepare for the battle. Park offers them one of his blades as he wants a fair fight. Hae-young is the first to take the blade and attack Park. He tells Park he will regret that because he is a knife master. At the moment, Hae-young is the #1 knife fighter of the Divine Honor High School, and his unique trait is his speed. Hae-young starts fighting with Peter, assuming that he is not that great and that they are thinking about him, claiming that Park lacks him. Hae-young says he will soon be able to hit a critical strike to win if the fight is prolonged. Then suddenly Park attacks Hae-young with an unexpected technique, leaving him in shock, and he manages to deflect at the last second. He needs clarification about how this technique can be used with the same knife he is using. Park sees his shock and taunts him by asking about his health. Hae-young realizes that Park fools him with the blade he has given to Hae-young, who has no edge. By then, Peter and Lee arrive at the occasion and tell Hae-young they will help him. But the brothers insist on not interfering as they want to finish this independently. They think that if they can't beat Park, neither Sang-do nor Lee can, so they stand and watch. The brothers claim that Park doesn't know their motive and that the last hurdle to completing the orphanage is the month of hell. During this time, instead of receiving food and water, they were given a pistol and 1 bullet in a place where there were thousands of wild beasts. They have to do whatever they can to survive. The bullet was used in different ways. Some used it for hunting, some used it to kill their friends, and some even used it for suicide. They refused to give up, and instead of dying like that, they tried to survive. They saved their bullets till the last moment because they knew that one day, 2 of their bullets would determine their fate. The day came when the brothers used their bullets to kill the giant bear at the same time. After the Hell Month, the brothers were the only 2 to survive out of 108 people of the 58th generation of the orphanage. Then they heard a shocking story of a young boy like them who became known as Discipline Pietro, after he left an unprecedented record 158 years after the start of the orphanage. He was the only person who didn't use his bullet but still survived. The brothers tell Park he is nothing but a mere step on their path and charge him simultaneously. Jae tackles the Park first and signals Hae-young to do the rest. Hae-young jumps in the air, tries to strike Park with the knife, and reminds him that he has made a mistake by giving him a knife. However, Park grabs Hae-young's arm and tells him that he should cut his arm instead of his leg. Hae-young admits he can't cut him as his knife has no edge. He can only kill Park by stabbing him. Yeon tries to put the knife in Park's throat. By then, Park breaks his weapon on his own and asks the brothers if they think they can become like Peter. He reveals his real blade, whose name is Kukri. He claims it is 10 times heavier than a normal knife and has trained with it his whole life. Park adds that this knife is faster than a knife and heavier than an axe, which makes it the perfect weapon for murder. The brothers stop him from talking and again attack Park, but Park quickly tackles them by cutting their arms. Finally, the brothers become afraid and tell Peter and Lee to run for their lives. Lee Yuna screams the names of the brothers in horror. Park asks her to stop as they are not dead yet, and why he would kill them as they are just kids, but he needs to collect his winnings, which is 1 leg from each brother. Park Sang-do is about to cut the first leg when the teacher arrives, screams at him not to do that, and even offers to cut his other leg instead. Lee Yuna fears he will cut their legs. But Park Sang-do smiles and asks them if they want to make a bet. Suddenly Peter accepts the bet by offering double the stakes. If Park Sang-do wants 2 legs and both arms, he can also give him his neck. While hearing this, Park Sang-do is shocked, thinks the offer is funny, and agrees to the bet. He tells Peter that a bet is fair when the conditions are fair, so he offers Peter a weapon. Lee Yuna screams and tries to tell Peter that the knife is faulty. But Peter surprises everyone when he chooses a metal tray with flowers painted on it, telling them it will be enough for him. When confident Park Sang-do sees it, he laughs and thinks it is too funny as Peter chooses it. The Park says it's been a while since he tears up his opponent. Park then warns Peter that he won't go easy during the fight. While saying this, he marches towards Peter with his blade and tries to hit Peter with a powerful attempt. Peter is fast enough to dodge him swiftly, but Park continues to attack Peter. Peter uses a metal tray as a shield to block all his attempts. Park understands what Peter is doing and admires Peter, saying using it as a shield is a good idea. The Park asks Peter how many attacks he thinks the tray can bear and adds, jokingly, 10 more, but no, it can't take 1 more. Just when Park is trying to hit another powerful hit to Peter, the scene shifts and the teacher driving as fast as he can to reach the spot as he doesn't want the students to face what he has in the past. He doesn't want Park Sang-do to suffer the students by cutting off their legs. In next scene, here is a flashback of Park Sang-do asking Miss Dealer not to be nervous. The dealer looks so terrified. As his hobby, Park asks the dealer to make a bet. Park asks the dealer if she thinks that he will get out of there alive or dead. It looks like the dealer is hesitating to make a bet. Park admires her that she is smart, so she picks the option of his survival without any doubt. Then, 5 men behind them are holding chainsaws. While he is chatting with the women, one of the men informs Park that the company is getting into trouble due to the many incidents he has caused. So, to quell the external rage, Park needs to be sacrificed. He also informs Park that he's been fired, and he and his man immediately charge at Park. These guys are a group of veteran killers with a B rank, so Park taking on 5 men alone is a suicide mission. However, seeing Park's knife skills that day made them think that he was more than a human being, and then he chopped off his legs as he died as a killer. It didn't matter whether a chainsaw or a knife was strong, but the important thing is how monstrous the person holding that weapon is. Park then split the tray of Peter into 2 pieces with his knife, and tell Peter how lucky he is as his knife didn't hit him but his shield. He teases Peter about what he will do now, as his only shield is to turn into 2. At that moment, Lee Yuna decides to help Peter with her knife. Peter asks Park that his kukri weapon not only splits his tray into 2, but also splits him, as his attacks are fiercer than Peter's expectations. Peter punches the tray pieces and shapes them into a weapon. Lee Yuna is shocked to see that and thinks it isn't only a shield. Peter thanks Park for giving him a weapon because he intended to choose a tray over the knife. Park smiles nervously and admits that Peter is not an ordinary student. Park wonders how Peter survives his attacks because he thinks he has cut Peter while cutting the tray into 2, but Peter suddenly backs off quickly to save himself. As a result, he saves himself and gets 2 weapons from the tray. Park doesn't understand and he thinks he is not a student. Park then admires Peter, saying it doesn't work on him from where he learned this trick wherever he learned it. Park then removes his jacket, throws it on Peter, and charges at Peter to confirm that this is his confidence. Or he is holding these skills as the jacket covers Peter's face and blocks his sight. Then he unleashes several powerful knife slashes in one on Peter. He thinks he is a lucky kid because this time he is sure that he has cut him with his knife. But he realizes that what he cut is a cousin which Peter used to protect himself. Peter attacks him from behind and tries to cut Park, but he manages to block it. Park falls to the ground and starts looking at the cut on his hand which he used to block. He fears that he is going to die now. Park thinks about how Peter was able to get behind and went straight for his neck without hesitation, but he somehow manages to block that he knows that Peter was aiming for his carotid artery. At that time, he is sure that Peter is not a student. Park finally realizes that the tray can't cut his clothes and can't block his knife attacks, and he is using it to cut his exposed neck. While Park is thinking about it, Peter marches towards him and attacks the kidnapper with great speed that he can't even keep up with. Park questions himself whether he is a student or not, or even if he is a human. Lee Yuna watches it from the side as the fight goes on and thinks about how the knife's weight causes things around to get destroyed every time he swings his knife. She fears that if Park manages to hit Peter, he is surely going to die. She notices that Park is slower than Peter and assumes that it might be the weight of. She also believes that if the fight lasts longer, Peter will win. When she thinks about this, a red line appears on Peter's cheek because he is hit. Lee Yuna is shocked after seeing this. Park then starts talking to himself that he needs the right knife to kill someone like Peter. Park surprised them by showing them knives inside his kukri, and he pulled them out. Peter realizes that he is now not using a heavier weapon, so Park's speed will rise. And the speed advantage that Peter was holding might no longer be with him now, as Kukri's weight was 3 times heavier than a normal knife. While Peter is thinking this all, Park rushes towards him, pointing the knife forward to kill him. Peter manages to block all his attacks this time too. Lee Yuna notices that Park's speed is faster than Peter's, and he now looks completely different. Lee Yuna is sure that the gimlet that Park is using now is a stabbing weapon. So why is he swinging it around? She needs clarification. Park is fighting even harder than before because he is more desperate to kill Peter and finds an opportunity to do that when he points a knife at Peter's neck. When he is about to kill Peter, his hands suddenly become weak, causing his gimlet to fall to the ground. Park can't even believe it, and he thinks that's impossible. Peter asks Park if he can't put strength into his hands. After a moment of silence, he realizes what Peter has been doing. Peter was not going after Park's neck from the start, but for his hands. Park looks at his hands covered with cuts and asks Peter what he has done with his hands. Peter says that he cuts everything Park needs to use his hand, from the flexor extensor and abductor muscles, along with his median, radial, and ulnar nerves, to all the ligaments in his hand. Peter says that he has used the sharp edge of the tray to do this, and then reveals from the beginning that he never tried to kill Park. However, Park doesn't accept this, and confirms that the guy standing before him is not a student or a child. He starts wondering how many people he has devoured in his life. First, he reminds Park what he said about the silver tray, which can never defeat a cast iron knife. Then he takes a fighting stance and promises to the kidnapper that he will show him how an egg destroys a rock. End of part 1 to 9. The title of this series will be in the comments section below. Please consider liking and subscribing. See you on the next video. Thanks for watching.